Welcome back to I'm Chronically Writing, where myths and folklore from every corner of the globe come alive through original storytelling. I'm Tashawn, your guide on this journey into the mystical, the eerie, and the forgotten. Each video will delve into a new tale, blending ancient legends with fresh narratives that will transport you beyond the ordinary. Settle in, open your mind, lay down, relax, and let the stories unfold. Before we begin, this video is brought to you by my newest book, The Andersons. The Andersons is about a newlywed couple, David and Lisa Anderson, traveling throughout Alaska for their honeymoon. On their final stop through Glacier Bay National Park, their honeymoon turns for the worst as the Andersons realize that they are the only ones at the park, or are they? This is my first book ever published and will be the one I'm reading to you all today. So if you enjoyed today's story and interested in my latest book, you can check it out on Amazon. The link in the description below. Now let's begin today's story. The Andersons is written by Tashawn Fonteneaux and based off the Alaskan folklore, the Kashtaka. A harbinger of fate, it weaves the spell, saving or damning, who can tell? With laughter echoing like a distant bell, in the heart of the Alaskan wilderness it dwells. Chapter 1. The tour bus rumbled along the winding road, its tire gripping the gravelly path as it ascends into the heart of Alaska's wilderness. Inside, David Anderson gazed out the window with a boyish grin, awestruck by the towering pines and distant snow-capped peaks that framed the landscape. Beside him, Lisa leaned closer, her fingers lightly tracing the glass as if it touched the rugged beauty beyond. "Can you believe this, Lisa?" David's voice held a mix of excitement and disbelief. "We're really here, in Alaska. It's like something out of a dream." Lisa nodded, her hazel eyes reflecting both wonder and a hint of nervousness. "It's incredible, David. Thank you for bringing me here. I never thought I'd come back." David turned to her, his love for her evident in every word. "Anything for you, you know that. This is your home, where you were born. I wanted our honeymoon to be something unforgettable." Lisa spent her childhood as a military brat, moving from base to base as her parents served in the Air Force. Born in Anchorage, Alaska, she felt a deep connection to its rugged beauty, but hadn't returned since leaving as a toddler. Her upbringing was marked by constant change, new schools, and diverse friendships forged in transient communities worldwide. Yet, amidst the nomadic lifestyle, Alaska remained a distant beacon of her earliest memories, a place she yearned to rediscover until her honeymoon. A year ago, they stood together under a canopy of flowers, promising forever to each other. David, the software engineer with a knack of adventure and a heart devoted to Lisa. Lisa, the biologist, whose love for nature rivaled her love for David. They were high school sweethearts, their paths intertwined long before they exchanged vows. As the bus continued its journey toward Glacier Bay National Park, David stole glances at Lisa, marveling at how her eyes sparkled under the Alaskan sun. She had always been the anchor to his restless spirit, her steady presence grounding him even as he sought out new experiences. Yet beneath the surface of their idyllic honeymoon, David carried a secret, a tiny pebble of guilt nestled in the recess of his heart. He had promised Lisa he had never touched drugs a day in his life, a vow made with utmost certainty. But David had ventured into the realm of psychedelics before, having to take rehab for it, a fact he hid behind tales of office pranks and Reddit escapades. The allure of the unknown had beckoned him then, just as it did now, to veer off the unbeaten path. David was just 12 when he first experimented with drugs, curious and impressionable due to him trying to cope with family problems. What started with simple experimentation soon escalated to psychedelics as he grew older, seeking escape and euphoria. However, as the years passed, David began to see the toll it took on his life and relationships. It wasn't until his mid-20s, after hitting rock bottom, that he found the strength to get clean. It was during this transformative period that he met Lisa, a kind-hearted woman who kept the secret due to embarrassment. Their love grew steadily, grounded in honesty and mutual respect, or that's what it was perceived by Lisa. It was on Reddit, in fact, where David had stumbled upon whispers of a hidden trail in Glacier Bay, an untamed path known only to a few daring souls. The tantalizing promise of untouched wilderness, far from the tourist crowds, had ignited a fire within him. He had carefully planned their route, keeping the trail a surprise for Lisa, banking everything on the hope that this uncharted adventure would be the pinnacle of their honeymoon. Lisa, ever perceptive to David's moods, sensed his relentlessness despite his attempts to reassure her. She squeezed his hand gently, bringing him back to the present moment. "You're quiet," she observed, her voice tinged with concern. "Is everything okay?" "Not really. When I booked this trip, I thought there might have been more people on this bus since it's peak vacation time during the summer." They were the only passengers aboard, a fact that had struck them as odd when they first climbed onto the bus. Emily Johnson, the spirited tour guide with a penchant for storytelling, had greeted them with a beaming smile that matched the sunlight streaming through the windows. William Lee, the stoic yet amiable bus driver, had nodded a welcome as he guided the vehicle along the narrow mountain roads. "Welcome to Glacier Bay National Park," Emily exclaimed, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "I'm Emily, and I'll be your guide today. William here will make sure we get where we're going safely." David chuckled, nudging Lisa gently. "Look on the bright side. It seems like we got the VIP treatment, Lisa, a private tour." Lisa offered a tentative smile in return, her fingers tightening around David's hand. She was accustomed to the quiet of her research expeditions, where the company consisted of her thoughts and the rustling of leaves. The bus, with its empty seats and Emily's effusive chatter, felt strangely intimate yet overwhelming. Emily launched into a detailed description of the park's attractions, her voice animated as she painted vivid pictures of glaciers calving into icy waters and bears prowling through the meadows in search of salmon. David leaned forward, absorbing every word with avid interest, while Lisa listened with a mix of fascination and apprehension. "And of course," Emily continued, her eyes gleaming with a hint of mischief, "there's the legend of the Kashtaka. They say these creatures, half man, half otter, roam these lands, luring travelers with their cries. But don't worry, folks, they're just stories." Lisa shifted uncomfortably at the mention of the Kashtaka, her gaze flickering to David. Do people really believe in those?" David chuckled, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "It's just folklore, Lisa, like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster. Emily's probably just trying to spice up the tour, you know." But Emily's enthusiasm was undeterred, and she continued to regale them with tales of local myths and legends, her words weaving a tapestry of mystery and intrigue. William focused on navigating the narrow road, occasionally grunted in annoyance as Emily's voice rose above the hum of the engine. Emily continues on and says, "They are shapeshifters capable of assuming human form, the form of an otter and potentially other forms, emitting a high-pitched, three-part whistle in the part of low, high, low, imitating the cries of a baby scream, or the scream of a woman to lure victims to the river. Once there, take Tasha either—" "Emily!" he finally interjected, his tone firm yet good-natured. "Maybe ease up on the scary stories, huh? Don't want to spook our guest." Emily nodded, abashed but still visibly burning with excitement. "Right. Sorry about that. Got carried away. But seriously, folks, Glacier Bay is a magical place. You'll see things you never imagined." As the bus climbed higher into the mountains, the landscape transformed into a panorama of breathtaking beauty. David and Lisa pressed closer to the windows, captivated by the sheer grandeur of their surroundings. Glaciers gleamed like jewels in the distance, and a sense of pine mingled with the crisp bite of the cold air. "We're almost there," Emily announced, her voice now tinged with a reverent hush. "Get ready to step into a world where nature still holds sway." Lisa leaned against David, her initial apprehension giving way to a quiet awe. Despite her reservations about Emily's storytelling, she couldn't deny the allure of the wilderness unfolding before them. David's eyes gleamed with excitement, mirroring the thrill that coursed through him at the prospect of exploring uncharted paths with his beloved wife. The bus slowed to a stop, and Emily's voice crackled over the intercom, announcing their arrival at the park entrance. David glanced out the window, the promise of adventure beckoning beyond the familiar trails. "Are you ready?" he asked, turning to Lisa with a playful glint in his eyes. Lisa hesitated for a moment, then nodded with a determination that mirrored David's own. "I'm ready, David. Let's make this honeymoon unforgettable." Hand in hand, they disembarked from the bus, stepping onto the threshold of Glacier Bay National Park. The scent of pine and sea salt mingled in the crisp air, and as they gazed at the vast expanse before them, they knew that their journey was just beginning. Together, they would navigate the uncharted path ahead, weaving their own story in amidst the towering forest and icy forge of Alaska, a hero's journey written in the footsteps of love and adventure. As they inched closer to the front gates of Glacier Bay National Park, they turned around one last time to thank Emily and William for bringing them all the way up. As soon as the Andersons turn around, they are met by a smile that seemed uncanny and otherworldly by Emily and William. Emily's smile was so wide that it touched ear to ear as tears began to rush down her face like the Alaskan waterfalls surrounding the area. David and Lisa quickly turned around and rushed inside to grab their tickets before Emily could shout out, "See you soon!" before being hushed abruptly by William. Chapter 2. The bright open sky blessed the Andersons with rays of sunlight as they approached the deserted desk. With temperatures reaching the low 70s, the air was crisp, infused with the scent of pine and the distant tang of salt water, while all in all the skies were crystal clear. The associate, a stout man with round glasses, pursed a perpetually smiling face, greeted them with an infused wave. "Welcome, welcome! You must be David and Lisa Anderson. May I get your IDs, just to verify, please?" The associate chirped, his voice a tad too bright for the quiet of the park. Lisa, hesitant, handed the associate both of their cards. "Ooh, are these North Carolina ID cards? What are you both doing so far away from home?" asked the associate. Before stumbling on her words, David interjects and says, "Me and my wife are taking our honeymoon trip around Alaska, and this is our last stop on the trip." The associate handed them their cards and tickets back with a flourish, his smile stretching unnaturally wide. "Well, you picked a wonderful day to visit Glacier Bay. Absolutely splendid. I hope you enjoy the park today." David exchanged a puzzled glance with Lisa. The park seemed unnervingly empty, devoid of the usual chatters of tourists or the distant whir of cameras. "It's quiet," David remarked cautiously, eyeing the associate's unsettling cheer. As the Andersons slowly turned around to begin their walk on the upcoming trail, the associate chuckled, a sound that started merely but abruptly halted, as if caught in his throat. "Oh yes, very quiet. That's the charm of Bartlett Cove, you see. Peaceful, serene, like your own private slice of wilderness." Lisa shifted uncomfortably, her instincts tingling with unease. "But where is everyone else? Are we early?" The associate's smile faltered for a split second before he recovered with practiced cheerfulness. "Oh no, you're right on time. It's just that, well, not many visitors these days. You two are lucky though. You have the whole trail to yourselves." David glanced at Lisa, his concern mirrored in her furrowed brow. He squeezed her hand reassuringly, his voice steady despite the lingering doubt. "It's okay, Lisa. Maybe it's just an off season. Let's enjoy this, all right?" Lisa nodded reluctantly, her gaze flickering towards the dense forest that beckoned beyond the kiosk. "Okay, David, but be careful, all right?" David smiled, his eyes crinkling with affection. "Always, Lisa." As they started towards the trailhead, David pulled out his phone, hoping for a signal to check the trail details he had saved from Reddit. No bars. He sighed and turned to Lisa, showing her the screenshots of the Reddit thread detailing the hidden path he planned to explore. "It's this way," David said eagerly, pointing towards a faint trail leading away from the main Bartlett Cove route. "Supposed to be less traveled, more wild. Just what we're looking for, right?" Lisa glanced at the screen, her anxiety flickering but not extinguished. "Are you sure about this, David? It seems risky." David shrugged, his excitement undimmed. Trust me, Lisa. This is going to be amazing. A real adventure. Together, they ventured onto the trail, the soft crunch of gravel beneath their feet echoing in the quiet of the forest. The trail wound through towering hemlocks and spruce, sunlight filtering through the dense canopy and golden shafts. It was serene, almost too quiet, with only the occasional rustle of leaves or distant call of a bird breaking the stillness. As they paused to examine a trail map at a wooden signpost, a movement caught their eye. Turning in unison, David and Lisa found themselves staring back at the kiosk associate, who stood outside his booth with binoculars pressed to his eyes. He seemed transfixed, his unnaturally wild smile fixed in place like a mask. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. "Dave, did you see that?" David nodded, his heart quickening despite his attempt to stay calm. "Yeah, that's weird. Maybe he's just checking on us." Lisa shook her head, her voice low with unease. "It's unsettling, David. Let's just stick to the main trail, okay? This just feels wrong." David hesitated, torn between his adventurous spirit and Lisa's growing discomfort. Finally, he nodded reluctantly. "All right, Lisa, we'll stay on the main trail. I don't want you feeling scared, okay?" They continued along the designated path, the forest seeming to close in around them as the shadows lengthened. The tranquility that initially charmed them now felt suffocating, each step echoing louder in the eerie silence of the park. "David," Lisa whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves, "do you think we should turn back?" Before David could reply, a distant and unfamiliar sound cut through the stillness, a low, haunting roar that sent a shiver down their spine, shouting, "Hey, you over there! Stop where you're at right now!" Stopping the couple in their tracks, they listened intently as the shouting echoed through the trees, seeming to come from all directions at once. Chapter 3. David and Lisa's hearts were racing, thinking they were alone on the trail until hearing the yells from afar. Turning around, they were met by a couple emerging from the trail behind. The newcomers approached with easy smiles and outstretched hands, their demeanor warm and welcoming, a stark contrast to the unnerving cheerfulness of those they had encountered so far. "We saw you two from a ways off," the woman said, her voice tinged with a southern drawl. "We're the Walkers. We flew all the way from Florence, South Carolina to celebrate our 35th anniversary right here in Alaska. Can you believe it?" David and Lisa exchanged relieved glances, grateful for the normalcy of the Walkers' presence. "I'm David, and this is my wife Lisa," David said, shaking their hands. "We're from North Carolina. What brings you all the way from South Carolina?" The Walkers laughed, the sound genuine and infectious. "Oh, just a visit adventure," the man exclaimed. "Empty nesters now, so we decided to explore some places new every year for our anniversary. Found this park and couldn't resist." Lisa smiled, feeling a wave of camaraderie with the older couple. "That's wonderful. David and I are on our honeymoon. We're exploring Alaska too." The conversation flowed easily as they walked together, the Walkers sharing stories of their travels and their sights they had seen. David couldn't help but notice how animated they were, their joy palpable in every gesture and word. It was refreshing, grounding, like finding an oasis in the midst of an unsettling wilderness. As they paused at the fork in the trail, the Walkers exchanged a knowing glance. "Say, have you two heard about the extended trail?" the woman asked, her eyes twinkling with mischief. David's ears perked up. "Extended trail?" The man nodded eagerly. "Oh yes. It branches off from the main path just up ahead. It takes you to waterfalls, caves, rivers, stunning views you won't find on the regular routes." David's heart raced with excitement. Could this be the same trail he read about on Reddit? He turned to Lisa, anticipation written across his face. "Lisa, this could be it. The trail from Reddit." Lisa hesitated, her gaze flickering between David and the Walkers. "But should we? It seems..." The Walkers chuckled knowingly, their smiles widening. "Oh, You should, absolutely, the woman urged. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Trust me. David squeezed Lisa's hand, his enthusiasm infectious. Come on, Lisa. Let's do it. We'll follow the walkers. See what this trail has to offer. Reluctantly, Lisa nodded, her trust in David overriding her reservations. Okay, David, but let's be careful. The walkers led them onto the hidden trail, its entrance marked by a weathered sign barely visible amidst the growth. It read, "Beware of the Kashtaka." Concerned, Lisa leaned and whispered in David's ear, "I don't think we should trust the walkers." "Why do you say that?" responded David. "Well, I just saw a sign saying, 'Beware of the Kashtaka' in all caps." "Are you sure that's what it said? The walkers are kind people and they know about the trail I was telling you about on Reddit." Lisa stops David in his tracks and pulls him to the side. "I hear what you're saying, babe, but think about it. We were told by the guy at the front that we would be the only people on this trail. Then you're telling me we just stumbled upon the walkers? Or better yet, they stumbled on us?" "Well, if you put it that way, I guess we could ask." Before finishing his sentence, David pauses as he feels like 1,000 eyes are pierced on him. He looks up and is greeted by Mr. Walker's smile. "Is there a problem, David?" the walkers said in unison with a smile on their face. David reassures them, saying, "No, everything's good. I had to help Lisa tie her shoe," coming up with a lie on the spot. "Okay, well, if anything is wrong, just let us know." They continue to walk deeper into the wilderness, the path winding through ancient trees and moss-covered rocks. With each step, the air grew cooler, the sounds of the main trail fading into the distance. David glanced back at the walkers, grateful for their guidance. "Is this the trail from Reddit?" he asked eagerly. The woman nodded, her smile widening. "Sure is. You won't regret it. Just keep following the markers." As they walked, the conversation turned lighter, filled with laughter and shared anecdotes. The walkers seemed genuinely interested in David's and Lisa's honeymoon, asking about their plans and sharing tips for enjoying Glacier Bay to the fullest. Before they parted ways, the man pulled David aside with a conspiratorial grin. "Hey, for a late wedding gift," he whispered, slipping a small packet into David's hand. "A couple of tabs we couldn't finish. Enjoy your trip." David blinked in surprise, his heart pounding. "LSD?" The man winked. "Something to make your adventure even more memorable. Trust me, it's safe. Just wait until you reach the caves." David hesitated and glancing at Lisa, who stood a few paces away, chatting animatedly with the woman. He tucked the packet into his pocket, unsure but intrigued by the walker's parting gift. Lisa noticed his hesitation and approached, concern flickering in her eyes. "David, what did they give you?" David met her gaze, his mind racing. "Just something for the trail. They said it's safe." Lisa frowned, her worry palpable. "I don't know, David. Maybe we shouldn't." David touched her arm gently, his voice low and reassuring. "Lisa, we're alone out here. It's just us. Let's embrace the adventure, okay?" Reluctantly, Lisa nodded, her anxiety tempered by her trust in David. "Okay, but let's stick together, no matter what." They continued along the trail, the landscape unfolding before them in a breathtaking tapestry of waterfalls cascading into crystal-clear pools, caves yawning with secrets, and mountains standing centile against the sky far into the distance where eyes could still see. Each step carried them deeper into the heart of Alaska's wilderness, where the air shimmered with possibility and the promise of discovery. David turned to Lisa, his eyes elate with excitement. "Ready for this?" Lisa took a deep breath, her hand tightening around David's. "Ready." Together, they both took a tab of LSD, leaving behind the fading light of day and adventuring into the unknown, a journey that would test their courage, their trust, and the very fabric of their reality. Little did they know, the trail they had chosen led not only into the depths of Glacier Bay, but into the labyrinth of their own minds, where shadows whispered and truth shimmered just beyond reach. Chapter 4. The forest around David and Lisa Anderson seemed to shimmer with newfound vibrancy as the LSD took hold. Colors deepened, sounds intensified, and every detail became imbued with significance. For David, it started with a subtle unease in his stomach, a tightening that spread warmth through his limbs. He glanced at Lisa, whose eyes widened slightly as she felt the initial effects. As they continued along the unmarked trail, mundane details took on profound meaning. A spider web, glistening with dew, captivated David's attention. He found himself drawn into a mental labyrinth, contemplating the intricate design and the life of the spider that wove it. In his heightened state, the fear of insects seemed irrational, almost laughable. He chuckled to himself, the sound echoing strangely in the quiet of the forest. Lisa, on the other hand, struggled with a sense of disconnect. Focusing became a challenge as her thoughts spiraled into a kaleidoscope of impressions. The trees around her seemed to sway more than usual, their branches dancing in an unseen breeze. Phantom movements flickered at the edges of her vision, teasing her with glimpses of fleeting shapes. "David," Lisa murmured, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Do you see that?" David turned to her, his pupils dilated with the drug's influence. "See what, Lisa?" Lisa shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. "Never mind. It's just, everything feels weird, stale." David nodded sympathetically, feeling the onset of the loop, a hallmark of LSD's effect. "I know what you mean. It's like things are repeating, connecting, like I'm cracking the Da Vinci Code or something." Lisa managed a weak smile, her mind racing faster than ever. "Yeah, everything's connected, David. It's like we're in this together, unraveling the mysteries." As they walked deeper into the wilderness, time seemed to stretch and compress in unpredictable ways. Objects took on new dimensions, their surfaces pulsating with unseen rhythms. David and Lisa exchanged glances, their shared experience forging a bond even stronger than before. But as the peak of their journey passed, the euphoria began to ebb. Colors faded, sounds softened, and the forest lost its enchanted glow. Objects that had seemed vibrant now appeared dull, tinged with a sense of melancholy. David slips out the words unknowingly. If he started tripping during the day, sundown could contribute to this. Lisa frowned, her brow furrowing with confusion. "David, why did you lie to me?" David's heart sank as Lisa's words cut through the lingering haze. He took a deep breath, grappling with the weight of his deception. I wanted everything to be perfect, Lisa. I didn't want you to worry." Lisa's eyes filled with sadness, her voice shaky, tempered by understanding. "David, what do you mean? Have you done this before? What else have you been keeping from me?" Anger rising and the epiphany that more of their relationship could be a lie. David is unresponsive, detaching himself from the situation as he starts to get inside of his head. "So you can respond to me, David? I really don't like when we do this, when we argue." Lisa, wanting to leave the situation for a bit, mentions she needs to use the restroom nearby, so she does. David sighed, running a hand through his hair, speaking to himself. I thought it would make our honeymoon unforgettable. I'm sorry, Lisa. I should have been honest." As David sat on a nearby tree trunk, his mind churned with conflicting emotions. The beauty of the scene around him seemed at odds with the turmoil within. "I lied to her," he thought, his gaze fixed on the dancing water. "I told her I'd never done drugs, but that's not true." The admission hung heavy in his mind, a knot of guilt tightening in his chest. He had wanted their honeymoon to be perfect, a pristine chapter in their shared life together. Alaska had been Lisa's dream, a return to her roots, and David had wanted to make it unforgettable. He had stumbled upon the Reddit post about the hidden trail, the promise of adventure and secrets, wonders luring him in it. And then, without a second thought, he had lied. Why did I do it? David wondered, his thoughts racing. I knew she hated drugs. She's always been clear about that, but I couldn't resist the temptation. I wanted to surprise her, to show her something extraordinary. But now, sitting here with the truth revealed, he felt the weight of his deception like a leaden cloak. Every laugh that he had shared, every moment of wonder they had experienced on the trail, felt tainted by his dishonesty. She deserves better, David thought, his throat tightening with emotion. She deserves honesty, especially from me. He recalled the look on Lisa's face when she had confronted him, her eyes searching his for the truth. He had faltered, stumbled over explanations that sounded hollow even to his own ears, and yet she had forgiven him, embraced him with a love that shook him to his core. How could she still love me after this? David wondered, his eyes stinging with unsheathed tears. How can she look at me the same way? He knew he had to make things right, to earn back her trust. But how? The words echoed in his mind, searching for a path forward. He had to start with honesty, with transparency. He had to tell her everything, lay bare his mistakes, and hope that she would understand. I'll tell her, David resolved, determination settling in his heart. I'll tell her the whole truth. I'll apologize and make all it right. As he watched Lisa approach, her silhouette outlined against the fading light, David felt a surge of courage. He stood facing her with a mixture of apprehension and resolve. Lisa paused, her expression softening as she met his gaze. David? He took a deep breath, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. Lisa, I need to talk to you. About earlier, about everything. Her brow furrowed slightly, concern etched in the lines of her face. David, what is it? He took her hands in his eyes pleading for understanding. I lied to you, Lisa, about the drugs. I've experimented before. It was stupid, reckless. I'm so sorry for not being honest with you. Lisa's gaze struck David, her fingers tightening around his. Why, David? Why did you lie? David swallowed hard, his throat tight with emotion. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted this trip to be perfect for you. I thought if I told you the truth, it would ruin everything. Tears welled in Lisa's eyes, a mix of hurt and compassion. David? He shook his head, the weight of his confession lifting slightly with each word. I know I messed up. I should have trusted you enough to be honest. I'm so sorry, Lisa. I love you more than anything, and I hate that I've hurt you. Lisa stepped closer, wrapping her arms around him in a tight embrace. David, I love you too, and I forgive you, but please, please don't ever lie to me again. David held her close, burying his face in her hair, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude. I won't, Lisa. I promise. Lisa nodded slowly, her gaze softening. The past is the past, David. You can't change that now, okay? Feeling a surge of emotion, David pulled her in tighter, full of embrace. I love you, Lisa. I'm sorry. Lisa hugged him back fiercely, her voice barely a whisper against his chest. I love you too, David. As they stood there, their hearts entwined in a moment of reconciliation, Lisa suddenly pulled away, her eyes widening in realization. David, I heard rushing water when I went to, you know. Let's go find it together. David nodded eagerly, a spark of renewed excitement lightening his eyes. Yes, let's go. They raced through the forest, their steps quickening as they followed the sound of rushing water. Branches snagged at their clothes. Roots threatened to trip them, but they pressed on, driven by a shared curiosity and the promise of discovery. Finally, they burst into a small clearing, where a cascade of water tumbled over smooth rocks into a crystal-clear pool below. The setting sun bathed the scene in golden light, casting long shadows that danced on the water's surface. It's beautiful, Lisa breathed, her earlier confusion giving way to wonder. David smiled, his heart swelling with relief and gratitude. It really is. They sat by the water's edge, hand in hand, watching as the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. The forest around them settled into a peaceful hush, as if holding its breath in reverence for the moment. Well, we'll be okay, won't we? Lisa asked softly, breaking the silence. David squeezed her hand gently, his eyes reflecting the fading light. We'll be more than okay, Lisa. We'll be stronger. Together. Chapter 5. David and Lisa found themselves perched on a smooth, sun-warmed boulder at the edge of a pristine alpine pool, nestled amid the grandeur of the Glacier Bay National Park. Before them, the landscape unfolded in a breathtaking panorama. Cascading waterfalls plunged from towering cliffs, their frothy veils shimmering in the morning sunlight. Caves carved in the rock face beckoned with mysterious shadows. Rivers snaked through emerald valleys, and jagged mountains pierced the cerulean sky. It's like something out of a dream. Lisa took a deep breath, her eyes wide with wonder as she surveyed the natural splendor before them. Her hand instinctively reached for David's, fingers intertwining as they absorbed the beauty around them. David nodded, his gaze lingering on Lisa's profile, illuminated by the soft glow of dawn. Absolutely incredible. I'm glad we stumbled upon this place. They leaned into each other, their shoulders touching as they reminisced about the journey. Remember when we first met in high school? David mused, a fond smile tugging at his lips. Who would have thought we would have ended up here, married and exploring Alaska together? Lisa chuckled softly, her gaze softening with affection. I always knew we'd find our way back to each other, even when life took us in different directions. Their conversation turned playful, punctuated with shared laughter and stolen glances. As they spoke, the sound of the waterfall's thunderous descent filled the air, a backdrop to their intimate exchange. You know, David teased, his voice low and teasing, I think I could take you in a water fight. Lisa raised an eyebrow, a mischievous spark dancing in her eyes. Oh, is that so? Careful, mister. You might get more than you're bargaining for. With a playful grin, David lunged forward, scooping up a handful of cool, clear water from the pool and splashing it toward Lisa. She squealed in surprise, retaliating with her own splash, sending droplets glittering in the air between them. Their laughter echoed across the rocky basin as they chased each other, ducking behind boulders and leaping over small rivulets. Soon, their clothes clung to their skin, drenched from head to toe in the refreshing spray of the waterfall. Breathless and flushed from their antics, they collapsed onto a mossy patch of ground near the pool's edge. David lay back, his chest rising and falling with exertion, a grin still lingering on his face. Lisa sprawled beside him, her hair damp and tousled, eyes sparkling with joy. That was amazing, Lisa gasped between giggles, reaching out to brush a stray lock of hair from David's forehead. He chuckled softly, turning his head to meet her gaze. You're amazing, you know that? She smiled, a radiant expression that warmed his heart. And you're not so bad yourself. Their playful banter softened to a comfortable silence as they laid side by side, the rhythm of the waterfall lulling them into a tranquil reverie. The world seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them in their own secluded paradise. I love moments like this, David murmured, breaking the quietude. I love moments like this, David murmured, breaking the quietude. Just you, me, and the beauty of nature. Me too, Lisa whispered, her voice barely above a breath. I wouldn't trade this for anything. Their fingers intertwined once more, a silent affirmation of their bond. They lay together, enveloped in the serenity of the wilderness, content in each other's presence as the sun climbed higher into the sky, casting a golden glow over their shared haven. As they approached the waterfall, its thunderous roar grew louder, a symphony of nature's power and beauty. The cascade plummeted from a towering cliff, its water crashing into a turquoise pool below. David squeezed Lisa's hand, a silent acknowledgement of the wonder before them. It's breathtaking, he murmured, his voice filled with awe. Lisa nodded, her eyes wide with admiration. I've never seen anything like it. It's like the heart of the earth beating right in front of us. They found a moss-covered rock near the edge of the pool and sat down, their feet dangling above the rushing water. Mist kissed their skin, cooling the warmth of the afternoon sun. I'm glad we came here, Lisa said softly, her gaze fixed on the cascading water. This place feels sacred almost. David nodded in agreement, his thoughts drifting to the bond they shared. It's like the universe brought us here to remind us of what's truly important. She turned to him, her eyes shimmering with unspoken emotion. You've always had a way with words, David Anderson. He chuckled, the sound mingling with the melody of the waterfall. Only when I'm inspired by something as beautiful as you. The laughter echoed in the clearing, blending with the symphony of nature around them. They sat in companionable silence for a while, content to be in each other's presence. I love you, Lisa, David said softly, breaking the quietude, more than words can express. She smiled, a radiant expression that lit up her entire face. And I love you, David, with all my heart. They leaned into each other, their lips meeting in a tender kiss. It was a kiss filled with promises and reassurance, a silent vow to cherish and protect each other. As they pulled away, Lisa's gaze lingered on David's face, memorizing every line and curve. Let's never forget this moment, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the waterfall's roar. David nodded, his heart overflowing with love. I promise, Lisa, this moment, right here, is etched into my soul. They sat together, enraptured by the beauty around them and the love that bonded them together. Time seemed to stand still in the embrace of nature's grandeur and the warmth of their affection. They pressed against one another, their mouths coming together in a lingering kiss. It was a kiss filled with longing and passion, a silent vow to cherish and explore each other. As they pulled away, Lisa's gaze smoldered with desire as she traced her fingers along David's jawline, feeling the roughness of his stubble beneath her touch. Her heart raced, intoxicated by the beauty of the moment and the allure of his closeness. David's hands found their way to her waist, pulling her closer until their bodies were pressed together, the warmth of their skin mingling in the cool mist of the waterfall. His touch ignited a fire within her, a primal need that pulsed with every beat of her heart. They abandoned themselves to the sensations, their kisses deepening, tongues intertwining in a dance of passion and a yearning. Lisa moaned softly against his lips, her fingers tangling in his hair as she lost herself in the intensity of their connection. Their hands roamed freely, exploring each other's body with a hunger born of love and desire. David's touch sent shivers down Lisa's spine, awakening every nerve, ending to the exquisite pleasure coursing through her veins. Needing to feel even closer, they shed their clothes, the air now charged with the electricity of their desire. Lisa's skin flushed with anticipation as David's hand traced the curves of her body, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. Under the veil of the waterfall's mist, they surrendered to each other completely. Their bodies moved as one, finding the rhythm that mirrored the rush of the cascading water around them. Moans of ecstasy mingled with the symphony of nature, a testament to their unbridled passion. Time seemed to stand still in their private oasis, where only their love and the thunderous roar of the waterfall existed. Every touch, every kiss, every whispered word of devotion fueled the flames of their desire until they reached the pinnacle of ecstasy together. I can't get enough of you right now. Afterwards, they lay intertwined on the mossy rock, their bodies still humming with the aftershocks of their lovemaking. Their breaths came in synchronized sighs, hearts beating in perfect harmony. I love you, David murmured, pressing a tender kiss to Lisa's forehead. She smiled, her eyes twinkling with love and contentment. I love you too, David. Always. And you know what? Maybe taking acid wasn't a bad idea after all. Giggling to what Lisa just said, they held each other in the serenity of the waterfall's embrace, two souls united in love amidst the beauty of nature's embrace as they dozed off to sleep. Chapter 6. David woke with a start, the warmth of the midday sun filtering through the canopy of trees above. He blinked groggily, trying to orient himself to the wilderness around him, trying to figure out what time it was, his phone dead. Lisa is still sleeping peacefully beside him, her soft breathing a reassuring rhythm in the quiet midday air. Feeling a pang of hunger gnawing at his stomach, David gently extracted himself from their makeshift bed of moss and leaves. With a glance back at Lisa, he set off quietly in search of sustenance. The river they had enjoyed earlier gurgled nearby, its crystalline waters catching the ray of sunlight. Remembering the cascade they had played in, David followed the river downstream, hoping to find a spot where he might catch some fish for him and his wife. The chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves navigated David through the underbrush. He knelt by the water's edge, scanning the clear depths for sign of movement. However, the fish seemed elusive this time of the day, darting away with each attempt David made to catch them. Frustrated but determined, he leaned closer, peering into the water with intense focus. The play of sunlight on the ripples mesmerized him, casting prisms of color across his vision. For a moment, he lost himself in the hypnotic dance of light and water. Face first in the shallows, David snapped out of his trance with a splash, his hands grasping at the pebbled riverbed. He shook his head, water streaming from his hair, unsure if the LSD still lingered in his system or if the nap had cleared his mind. Shaking off the disorientation, David retracted his steps back to where Lisa lay sleeping. But as he neared, a sharp cry shattered the peace, echoing through the trees. David froze, his heart lurching in his chest. It was the sound of a baby, which morphed into the sound of his wife Lisa, filled with fear and distress. Fear clenched his gut as he sprinted towards the source of the sound, crashing through the undergrowth. "Lisa," he called out, panic gripping him. "Lisa, I'm coming." The cries intensified, mixed with desperate sobs that pierced through the morning stillness. David's mind raced with dread, imagining all manner of horrors that could befall his beloved wife. Rushing through the shrubs, scraping his forearms and calves, he arrives back to where his wife laid, bewildered and petrified. Chapter 7. David's heart pounded in his chest as he emerged from the dense foliage, scanning the area frantically for any sign of Lisa. His mind raced with a worst-case scenario, his thoughts consumed by visions of tragedy. Smelling the scent of rotting meat with fruity undertones near the waterfall, David checks it out and stumbles a pool of blood underneath the waterfall. No, Lisa, please no." His voice cracked with raw emotion, the words barely audible over the rush of the cascading water. He took a shaky step forward, his heart pounding painfully in his chest. "Lisa," he called out, his voice hoarse with desperation. "Oh God, no." His hands trembled as he reached out towards the water, as if by some miracle Lisa would float back up being alive and well. But the reality sank in, deeper with each passing moment, crushing his spirit. "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't save you," he murmured, his voice choked with sorrow. "I love you, Lisa." His breath hitched, his chest tightening with grief as he knelt beside the water's edge, unable to tear his gaze away from water. The world seemed to blur around him, the sounds of the forest fading into a distant hum. "I should have been faster. I should have protected you," he whispered, his words mingling with the gentle rush of the river. I can't believe this." David's shoulders shook with silent sobs, his hands clutching the wet earth beneath him. His mind raced with memories of Lisa, their laughters, their dreams for the future. Now all he could see was her lifeless form, forever etched in his mind. "I'm so sorry," he repeated softly, his voice breaking. "I couldn't save you." In that moment of profound loss, David felt a piece of him shatter, the pain of losing his beloved wife cutting deep into his soul, until something starts to float back up. David, thinking it's his wife, lunges into the water to save her, but as he jumps in and opens his eyes, he sees nothing. Swimming to turn around, he sees a humanoid figure viciously swimming towards him. Not being able to make out what he's seeing, he jumps out the water, only realizing it was a single sea otter passing by. With a mix of unexplainable emotion, David falls down to his knees and begins to sob. Chapter 8. David begins to question his reality. Would any of this ever happen if we didn't go on this trail? He starts to blame himself, which leads to him shouting out curses about the situations he's in. His breath caught in his throat as he started to hear a familiar voice that could not be mimicked. He saw Lisa appearing through the tree line, clutching something small and wriggling in her arms. Relief flooded through him as he rushed to her side, dropping to his knees beside her. "Lisa, what happened? Are you okay?" He asked frantically, his hands hovering over her, unsure where to touch. Lisa looked up at him with tear-streaked cheeks, her eyes wide blank. In her arms, nestled against her chest, was a tiny fawn, its fur still damp from birth. The newborn creature whimpered softly, its small legs kicking in search of solid ground. "I heard it crying," Lisa whispered, her voice trembling. I thought it was a baby in trouble, but it was just a fawn, David. It's okay." David exulted shakily, relief flooding through him as he realized the source of Lisa's distress. He reached out to grab the fawn, gently stroking its soft fur, marveling at the fragile beauty of a new life. As Lisa stood up, "We're okay," he murmured, his voice soothing. Still kneeling, David looks up at Lisa and says, "You're amazing, you know that?" Lisa looks down at David with a familiar smile. The same smile seen before, but the same smile that was uneasy to the both of them, even Lisa. Without hesitation, Lisa grabs the nearby stone slab and runs it into David's face repeatedly, over and over and over again, enjoying every second of it. Lisa utters no words, but her smile continues to get bigger and wider, reaching ear to ear. Taking the inducing hits and taking his last breath, David cries out, "Who are you? You're not my wife. What did you do with her? What did you do to my Lisa?" Lisa climbs over David. No response is given as she smiles over David while blood drips down from her face. As David continues to talk, Lisa begins to rip his stomach open, spewing out his large intestines. David uncontrollably throws up blood from his mouth and cries out for help. Before taking his last breath, Lisa steals it from him by ripping his heart out and tearing it into shreds with a smile on her face. Bathing in David's blood, she looks up in the sky in a state of calmness as she sees the walkers emerge from the trees with huge smiles on their faces. "Don't be afraid, Lisa. You're finally home. No need to worry anymore. Just wash up and we'll take care of you." The walkers reassure her. Lisa, with no hesitation, follows the instructions of the walkers and leans over into the drop-off of the waterfall. As she dips her head into the water to clean her face, she emerges back to the reflection of herself in the clear water and stares back at the reflection of an otter. If you like today's reading, let me know by liking the video and hitting that subscribe button so I know that you want more content just like this. I come up with stories almost every day, so be on the lookout for my next video. If you have a folklore or myth you'd like me to write about, let me know down below in the comments. I'm thinking about starting a Reddit page as well, so we can all communicate through it together, so you can let me know what kind of stories I should make just through that app instead of the YouTube comments. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. But if you made it this far, thanks for taking a chance on my story, and let me know how I can improve for more videos in the future. Lastly, you can follow me on all my socials at imchronicallywriting, linked down below in the comments. And yeah, shoot, until next time, keep on reading.